Okay, I've started the recording. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, welcome everybody. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2020. And you all joining us and part of this Zoom because you have all very kindly volunteered your time to be a part of our career day that is happening on Tuesday, May 26th, 2020, this coming Tuesday. So we're very fortunate that all of you are going to be a part of this day. It is virtual, as you know, and we'll talk about a little bit about what that means for all of you and what that means for the CMS staff who are supporting the day as well. Before we start, I want to see if Miss Young, are you here? Yep, there she is. She's just muted. Miss Young, would you like to introduce yourself? Nope. I think we unmuted you. Go ahead. Oh, she might be having some audio problems. We're not able to hear you. Wait, try now.
It says unmuted. Are you there?
No, you're there. Good.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Valerie Young, I'm the admin assistant in middle school.
Excellent. Valerie, everybody's all over the place in terms of where the videos are. So instead of trying to go around a virtual room and have folks introduce themselves, we do have some people who are not able to be here,
okay.
Which is why I'm recording. Are you able to, or do you want to do it a little later, just share a list of the different occupations and careers that we have?
I'm just going to figure out, how do I minimize your screen so I can see my desktop? Figure out how to.
Yep. So you should be able to do it. So why don't, on your end, why don't you figure that out, and we'll come back to you towards the end of the presentation.
Sounds good. So
I'm sure sitting on the side of the video of many of our volunteers, I know that would be a question that I would have as far as who's all part of this day. So welcome. Again, our career day has been shared with our students, and I'll share a little bit about the process that we have taken in sharing out this day and really getting students excited. So here's our agenda for the evening. Again, we're scheduled to be with each other for about a half an hour. Many of you are part of our community, which I think is so significant in the goals of this event, but we do have people who were recruited in that were either recruited by parents or current faculty and staff who may know a little bit about the middle school, but not much. So I am gonna share just a little bit about the middle school. Then I wanna share with all of you all about Career Day and our goals and our objectives and the charge of the day. Then we're gonna share out the role of the presenter, which is all of you, of course. Then we're gonna share out the role of the CMS staff, who will be supporting you and with you during this day, the role of the student. Then for those who do not have a common practice of presenting, especially to a middle school age group, we're gonna go through some good presentation practices for the age group of 12 to 13. What to expect by Monday evening, what to expect on Tuesday, and then we'll have time for you to ask any questions that you might have. So before March 12th, 2020, Concord Middle School, and I actually was on campus today, so we still have two buildings. We have the Peabody building, which if you know your history of Concord Middle School, Peabody and Sanborn, the two buildings, housed a 6th, a 7th, and an 8th grade up until fall of 2019, which was this past fall. This past fall, we reconfigured and redesigned the experience from the perspective of the student of the middle school, and we turned the Peabody building into a 6th grade academy, and we turned the Sanborn building into a 7th and 8th grade. It has been a remarkable journey, a lot of which the sweat and the tears of the middle school teachers were a big part of this renaissance that has taken place at Concord Middle School. And quite honestly, before we ended and went into the extended school closure on March 12th, we could not have been more satisfied and grateful of the change that we made. I'm not going to get more into that, but if you're interested in some of that, you can certainly email me. My kids are coming in for a quick good night. Good night, good night, good night. Mwah. That was a nice kiss. Mwah. Good night. Love you. Love you too. Okay, moving right along, the sights and the sounds of home. That's what we're all about right now. This is after March 12th, of course. So this is the new reality at Concord Middle School. And I have to be honest, I'm just as proud to share with you, our journey and where we are on May 21st, just a little over 2 months. A whole new reality for schools and public education, of course. Kind of going left to right, these are our online meeting expectations or our online class expectations. Going below that, we've had many outreach to our parent community. We've found in such an overwhelming number of authors and professional consultants just offering themselves free of charge without any cost, giving themselves to our faculty, to our staff, and to our parents. This was a middle school virtual parent workshop we had through Zoom on April 13th. We've gone live in our auditorium a few times for some assemblies to our students. We know how important that connection they have with the physical plant, with the physical building is. This is an example of a after-school club, our after-school club. Some of our after-school clubs continued in the virtual world. This was an example of an after-school club called Animals and Planet that went live to an elephant sanctuary down in Tennessee. Behind here, we have a whole new extended school closure website that shares all the daily assignments, things like our online Zoom expectations. To the right, we've been doing a lot of celebration of students and their spirit. Here is a 7th grader who performed a driveway performance. And finally, to the right here, we had almost all of our 7th graders choose to read a children's story, and we published those on our YouTube page. So before moving into the day, career day, I just want to share with you that, through the pandemic and everything that's happened, we've been so fortunate to have teachers and staff who have found ways to be creative and to innovate, and some of that response you can see right here. Okay, so about CMS Career Day. So this is what's been shared out with students now for a little bit over a month. Career Day is not a school day, what we're defining as a virtual school day for students. So there are no classes on Tuesday, May 26th. As I'm sure all of you know, Monday, May 25th is a holiday, it's Memorial Day, so students are coming back. Every Monday since the school closures happened, we've tried to do something special to re-engage and bring in our students. This is the first time that we're actually doing something special and it's overtaking the day. So there are no Zoom classes, there are no teacher office hours, there are no assignments that are being dropped in Google Classrooms. This is their day of learning. So May 26th, this Tuesday, is Virtual Career Day. And here is the schedule right here at 9:15. At 9:15, we have a kickoff Zoom assembly with a keynote speaker. That keynote speaker I can share with you is Kate Merrill from WBZ Channel 4. She will be doing her keynote address live from the WBZ studio. Unless there's breaking news, if there's breaking news, then we're gonna move her keynote to after the 1 p.m. presentation. Many of you have signed up for the 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. presentations. Some of you have only signed up for the 10 a.m. Some of you have only signed up for the 1 p.m. But this is the student experience. The student experience, again, is for them to attend the kickoff assembly with Kate Merrill, to attend a 10 a.m. Zoom presentation that they're signing up for. I'll share with you that sign up form in just a minute. And then around 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, they really don't need to be anywhere. And at 1 o'clock, they're re-engaging and recommitting to their 1 p.m. Presentation. There are caps to each presentation, so this is important information for all of you. The maximum number of students who will be in your Zoom will be 40. And we don't expect too many Zooms to actually get past 25 or 30, but the max is, again, 40. I don't know how well you can see this. It's pretty small. This is the sign-up form that we dropped today to our students. I can share with you in a couple mouse clicks here that this sign-up form was dropped on 4 o'clock today, actually. We had a mandatory assembly with all students through Zoom at 12 o'clock today to share a little bit about the day, to answer any questions, and then we walked them through how to complete this form. Again, this form dropped a little over 3 hours ago, and we have 569 students who have committed to a Zoom with all of you. And that's a tremendous, tremendous response. So this is the role of the presenter. The role of the presenter, which is, again, all of you, is to not just present what you do, but why you do it. And for some of us who get into a place in our careers where, it's kind of, routine, and we get to a place of, maybe saying, oh, how can I freshen this up? I would ask you, if you happen to be occupying that space right now, to try to get back to a mindset of why it is you got into what you do, and why you do it, of course. Who is your intended audience? Share the story of who empowered you. What role did school play? I think that's really where you're going to resonate with our students. Being a former 7th grade English teacher, a lot of our selections of our novellas, novels, our short stories, we often were choosing characters that were the same age and had a lot of things in common with our students. Our students, as I think most of you know, are students from the Boston community and from the Concord community. Our students, I said this a little bit earlier, are ages 12 to 14. If you share your middle school story, for the student who, again, has you on in their bedroom or their living room and are kind of listening in, they're going to lean into your story when you tell a little bit about your middle school experience or your high school experience. And if it's authentic and true, if whatever career you're in right now, if that journey started when you're in school, please share that out. I'm going to model something that I'm going to share with all of you in about 3 or 4 minutes, which is how to break up a presentation, so that if your audience is starting to get a little bored, then you want to mix it up, of course. So I want to present to you a video that's only about 3 minutes long.
It's called How Do I Know? And a lot of times when people hear the phrase, how do I know?
Let me just let it load here. Now I'm presenting, I think I'm modeling a couple things. First, it's actually very easy if you're haven't done a lot of Zooms. It's very easy to show a video on Zoom. And although, I have some irony right here that it's still loading, I haven't had too much trouble sharing videos. I've done a lot of book groups with students, and I've done a lot of large group presentations as well. So when presenting, having a video and break up that presentation is pretty good practice. Let's see how well this plays.
This is called How Do I Know? And a lot of times when people hear the phrase, how do I know? The next thing they say is what? How do I know what? But the key really isn't to know what. The key is to know why. Because when you know your why, you have options on what your what can be. For instance, my why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. My what is stand-up comedy. My what is writing books. My what can be going out with some friends to eat. In fact, another what that has moved me towards my why is a web series that we have out now called Break Time. So every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you should subscribe to the channel. we do a series called Break Time on YouTube. So 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode. One episode in particular, I'm about to show you a clip to. We're in Winston-Salem. So Break Time, this is how it works. I travel the country, I do stand-up comedy, probably an hour and a half at an event. And in the middle of my show, I'll just sit down and start talking to the audience. And funny just happens. Or I'll meet somebody who's really interesting. So I met this one guy, and he said that he teaches music at a school. I was like, all right, you teach music, can you sing? And then I'm just gonna show you the clip. Check it. So you're a musical director.
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow, that bro could sing. You know what I'm saying? Now, once you give me the version, is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know what version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Right now I'm fine, but blind. I see.
Here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.
Okay. Not sure if you've seen that before. I hope it inspired you, but I felt it was a fantastic synergy with the presentation that if you haven't given it much thought, you want to bring back your why. You want to bring back why you do what you do, and hopefully that passion will go right through the video and go right into the kids and give them a sense of, purpose in a sense of their why. So the role of the CMS staff is to, they're gonna own the Zoom link that they set up for all of you. So the CMS staff that have volunteered themselves to be with you have already set up their CMS Zoom link that Valerie or another admin assistant that we have, her name is Deb, will be emailing you by Monday evening. Now, when the Zoom link is shared with you, all you have to do is follow it. It's the exact same Zoom link that will be sent to the students as well. If you've never been on this side, my side of the Zoom, the person who sets it up, the person who puts in some safety measures, one of the takeaways you should be receiving from this presentation is you don't have to do any of that. The CMS staff member who's been assigned to you, and you'll learn more about that CMS staff member on Monday as well. The other piece that I want to share with you is that the CMS staff member is the one who is responsible for student behavior. Now, as soon as I say that, I feel like I haven't really honored the fact that our students are remarkable. They're awesome, they're amazing. And I really don't anticipate having any behavioral problems in any of the Zoom links in any of your presentations. Since I've said that, and I live in a superstitious world, I may have jinxed myself here or there. And again, that is the role of the CMS staff member. Almost done. The role of the CMS student, and this is something I shared with them at a all-school assembly, Zoom assembly we had at noontime today, is to be inspired. And we talked a little bit about the importance of asking you what are called higher order questions. And let's hope that they present as such towards the end of your presentation. Your presentation, by the way, I should have wrote this down, should be anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes in length. Again, we're going to get to some presentation practices right now. And then you want to leave a good 10-15 minutes for questions. I would say that's the other role that I've asked for the CMS staff to take. Often, and we're seeing this a lot in the Zooms with kids, is to break that ice. So the CMS staff member might actually ask you the first couple higher order questions. So for those of you who don't do this typically, I wanted to offer some presentation practices. So I've shared some things on the slide with you. Mix it up. Videos are a great way to break up your presentation. As soon as I made this slide, I realized that as an educator, I have to model that practice, which is why I embedded that video just a few minutes ago. Anything you want to do that's live, any sort of demonstration that you want to do, you know, either in a workshop, in a home workshop. Some of you I've heard from are actually doing this from their place of work, those that are able to do so. Kate Merrill, again, is doing her keynote from the WBZ studio. All of that, any sense that you're just not a talking head and kids, you know, will spend about 17 seconds analyzing your background, and then you're going to start to lose them. So feel free to go live in your presentation in a place where you can demonstrate and you can offer up a demonstration. If you have family, feel free to involve them, especially if they're a part of what you do and, again, why you do it. Dipsticking is ed jargon or education jargon. So dipsticking, if you feel comfortable, you can actually, it's not a great practice in the classroom, but you can cold call on some students and share with them, oh, Ms. Young, you're demonstrating the importance of involving family. Thank you for that. So dipsticking is just asking students some questions, sometimes lower order, sometimes comprehension questions, asking them experiences, you know, often help as well. The more you involve them, the more that if they're drifting away, they will come back to you. And if you're presenting at 10 a.m. at 1 p.m., then do what good teachers do. Learn from your 10 a.m. Experience and, you know, write and reflect and think about what you might want to change. And if you're like any teacher in the world, by the time you do it again, you're going to think back to the first time you did it, and you're going to think, oh, if only I would have done that the first time or done this. I did skip this note, which is quite the paradox, whoops, which is plan to be spontaneous. If you appear that you're going off script with the kids, and this is where, again, a good demonstration, let's say, for all the scientists who are presenting their careers, you know, good demonstration, you know, share things like, you know, oh, I've never done this, or I'm not supposed to do this, or, you know, I hope my partner doesn't walk in when we're doing this, you know, all of which obviously should be planned. But if you're presenting like you're going off script, that's a great way to capture this age group. You know, that's when they're probably going to be calling their younger brother or sister, you know, from Willard or Thoreau over to the video screen and say, look at what this, you know, look at what she's doing right now. This is crazy. Okay, what to expect. This is the last slide before we take questions. What to expect before Monday evening. Monday evening, sometime around the 6 or 7 o'clock hour, you're going to get an email from one of my admin assistants, either Valerie, who's on with us, or Deb. And they will be sharing in that email the Zoom link, the number of students who signed up, and the CMS staff member who will be with you in that Zoom. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just because that's the better way to kind of ask questions. Although with a very special guest on her lap, Miss Young, are you in a place where you can read all the different occupations that we have during the day? Just need to go ahead.
There you go. Yep, we have architect, anthropologist, 2 architects, assistant fire chief, attorney, chemical biology for neuroscience drug discovery, creative director and fashion designer, electrical engineer, environmental engineer, fine arts painter, healthcare technology strategy executive, hospitality industry, HR executive, industrial physicist, IT, pharma, and biotech project manager, microbiologist, military, nurse, pediatric cardiologist, pharmaceutical chemist, physician scientist, project engineer, project manager, a school psychologist, a school resource officer, screenwriter and film educator, software developer, state representative, and formal social workers. We have TV anchor, visual artists, and video producers.
Excellent, thank you. I don't know where the school principal was and all that. All right, so this is the opportunity that we just want to turn it over to you if you want to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you might have. You want to, you can also raise your hand. I'm not quite sure if I've turned off the option. Yep, so Chris Hart, I'm unmuting you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, super quick question then. Will the sessions be recorded?
Will the sessions be recorded? The answer to that is yes. What we will need to do though, after the recording is done, is compare, look at the roster of students who are in your session, and we're not able to release publicly that recorded session if we have some students in that where we don't have permission to share their face, their video, and all of that. And Chris, that actually brings up a great point, and I want to make sure it's stated publicly to all of you. Where we are in the virtual world is we're not quite at a place. I know I shared with you a screen capture of students in their virtual classroom expectations. We do not expect students at this time to actually have their video on. So I want you all to expect to have students in your session. Some students will have their video on and some students will not. We have decided as a district that if we open the 2020-21 school year virtually in the fall, which is unfortunately a possibility, we're working our way towards that expectation. So you will and should expect some students to have their video on and some of the students to have their video off. I find the more students that have their videos off, the more dipsticking I do, the more calling on the kids to share examples about, a teacher who may have inspired them. And sometimes I just call on a student, and again, for some reason, my mind often goes to the student who doesn't have their video on, just to make sure that they're truly there and engaged. Thanks, Chris.
A quick follow-up, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I made a slideshow of a bunch of links, resources, more information if you're curious, kind of a thing, that would be something you could distribute afterwards then perhaps as an
Yes,
option.
absolutely. Yep. And it's what you can't do, all of you, because you're outside the Concord organization, you're not able to email our students. but I am able to email the students in your presentation. So any follow-up that you want to do, I can email your students who are part of that presentation. Okay, I have DJ John. Go ahead.
All right. Hi. Yeah, I'm
Hi.
Doug Johnson,
Hi, Doug.
Tara's dad. So what I was wondering, what's the best way to handle questions? Are the kids all going to be on mute? I mean, one way you could have the presentation and then ask questions at the end, but I think it'd probably be better in this scenario if they could ask questions throughout. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, it's being handled many different ways. Quite honest, we're all learning as educators. I didn't, like many of you, I didn't know Zoom even existed 3 months ago. Like even in this Zoom room right now, the fact that you're not able, I think, to unmute yourself is a setting that I'm not quite sure has been made. In terms of, my suggestion is really leaning on the CMS staff member that will be with you. And that CMS staff member can handle when you call upon a student, either if that student is indicating with the hand raise feature or kind of going like this. The CMS staff member will unmute the student if they're unable to mute themselves.
Okay.
But as I said earlier, I feel like 2 minutes ago, I really think it's important that your CMS staff member is right there with you. And this is the role often of my assistant principals and assemblies. As soon as I call upon a student, I'm not the one trying to unmute that student as I'm doing right now. That's often my assistant principal. And
then is there a chat feature? Is there like a chat box where people could raise questions on Zoom? I know that Microsoft Teams and things like that have that, but I'm not sure about Zoom.
Yep, and it's enabled right now, and we'll let the CMS staff members who are hosting your Zooms, we'll make sure that the chat feature is enabled for you as well.
Okay.
So, I actually have a couple questions in the chat room right now that I'll just ask and answer. Is there a tech backup for embedding videos in the presentation? So the answer to that is, I would have whatever video that you want to present actually not be a video, if you're able to do this, that you're streaming. When I've done my book groups with the students, what I've done is I've actually, and this is getting quite technical, I understand, but there is a way to download videos from YouTube. I know I streamed a video to all of you, so it's not the best model that I just did there. If for some reason you can't download the video, then you can try and stream it, that's fine. And just, see how it works. Other questions? So I have one from Beth. Hi, Beth.
Hi. Do you have a sense of how big of a group you can have a conversation with versus question and answer? So can we do interactive type presentation? Does it become kind of too much if there's more than 15 or 20 kids?
Yeah, that's a great question, Beth. What we are finding, and we have a student population, again, I just shared with you our number of students who have engaged in this day and signed up is approaching 600, and it's third hour. So, we have a student population that are highly engaged, highly motivated, but they're also middle school kids that, God bless them, they are super awkward. And, like a true classroom, you never know, how they're going to come together. And I honestly believe the Zoom world is actually making it a lot more challenging for you to inspire good conversation. So if all of you find out on Monday evening that your group is 12, you might start shifting in your mind that presentation and trying to be, to get the kids, because the group is smaller, a lot more interacting together. I would throw a little caution to that. I've had assemblies, grade level assemblies and book groups that it's like pulling teeth. I've had some groups of about 20 or 30 that have meshed well. My home base, my goodness, I tried it a couple times and it was just, we were all just kind of staring at each other. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of that second adult who will be with you, because you're interacting with them will break the ice with all the kids as well. And chances are, especially for our 7th and 8th graders, those students are going to know that second adult as well. Thank you, Beth. Leslie, I'm trying to, yep, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That was quite a list of professions. Should I be concerned at all that mine wasn't on the list?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Leslie, do you want to just?
I can pretend I'm a nurse, but I don't
Did I
know.
skip you, social justice and nonprofit manager?
Yeah, that's me.
There
That
you
you're on.
go.
I apparently skipped you. Sorry.
Just checking.
So that's the other thing. So when if we're showing slides, we can't see all of the people, the faces and things, right? We might only see a couple side. And so again, that's where the other person in the room is really important to be able to, if someone has a question or something.
Yep, absolutely. And I often find too, as soon as you're done presenting, and I actually modeled this with you about 10 minutes ago, drop your sharing of the screen. That way, you're kind of in a place of, with that adult, that CMS second adult, you're in a place where you can kind of monitor and read the room as well. Ryan, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, it's not Ryan, it's Steve. I
Oh,
can't for the
sorry,
life of me. Ryan is my 7th grader.
Yes, he is.
Actually, and scary enough, I'm an engineer and I can't figure out how to change the setting on this thing. So 2 things. One is I think I signed up as engineer and I see there's an electrical in there too. So maybe to make the distinction, if it's not too late, I can clarify that and make it aerospace engineer. I was a little too generic in my description.
Do that.
Thank you. The other is that if I get this working, I have a demo that I like to show, but it could get a little loud. And for my own safety, I may have to stand a little bit away from it. Are there some concerns about volume level? Or maybe I just, I know you're probably all wondering what this is now, but if it's, maybe I'll just do a little bit of warning ahead of time that it could get loud. I don't know. My experience with Zoom is that I haven't had any issues with that. But I don't know how that comes out on the other end.
Yep, I'm excited about your presentation for sure. You hooked me. I would just, as you just said, just share with the students who are part of your group. This might get a little loud if you want to turn it down. When I was showing that video clip, my wife just texted me and said, I thought you were in a meeting. You sound like you're in church. So sometimes we forget how loud it is. Just offering the students an opportunity to say, you might want to turn your volume down for this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Eric, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Eric. I think it, all right, try now. No, it definitely says you're unmuted, so I'm not quite sure why we're not capturing your audio. Beth, do you have another question?
No, he just needs to unmute him on his end too. So you unmute him, but in the lower left corner, you have to unmute your computer screen as well, probably, Eric.
Yeah, so when I unmute him, I think he's turning his mute on.
Yeah. I think he's typing a question.
Okay, that works too. All right. So again, we want to just thank you. What has happened in public education, of course, since March 13th is just, groups that I'm involved in, job alike groups, are just coming together, you know, and as principals and leaders of the learning, we're just really trying to find creative ways to keep the students engaged and involved. And we really think this is a community partnership that we're in. And there's no better demonstration of all of you stepping up and being in front of our kids on Tuesday. The kids are really excited about this. And one of the things that is most powerful that has been robbed of us is when everybody's ending a Zoom. We don't necessarily get what Concord Middle School students often do when they're leaving the classroom. And that is, you know, just coming up to the person who presented the teacher and just offering that very sincere and authentic thank you. So I just want to offer that. You know, I think if you get the right mix of students that are going to come together in front of you on Tuesday, you're going to see really the best of what Concord Public Schools offers our community, and that's the kids. Thank you very much. I've recorded this. If you have any questions, please email me. I might respond with one of my admin assistants, a part of that response as well, so that they might help us out. We will be close to email all weekend. Sorry, Valerie. Thank you, everybody.